And welcome into Track 'em Tigers. I'm Jay Coulter with the coach, Ron Nelson. Preseason's over. The real season starts this Saturday. Texas A&M, Kyle Field, 3:30 p.m., CBS. What do you think, Coach?
Coach, Jay, yes, I'm all excited. I mean, like I said, the preseason, we had the Oregon game, and, that was a tough test. And then we had two other games that we was expected to win, and we did. I think we found out that Tulane's a little better than people think they were. And I thought what we did is what we talked about we needed to do. We went out and basically we didn't play Kent State, we played ourselves. And I thought we got better in a lot of areas.
Yeah. As we speak, Tulane's playing Houston tonight, so I want to see how that game goes. I think they may give Houston a run. It'll kind of give you a gauge of exactly how good Tulane is.
It will. And like I said, the main thing is that, Auburn, we did some good things, we did some bad things. We got a few people nicked up. Just some things that going into a big week, you want everybody healthy.
Yep. Texas A&M a 4-point favorite, which means basically on a neutral field it's a pick 'em. So very evenly matched. Auburn 55, Kent State 16. I thought it's just what the doctor ordered. It's really what Auburn needed to see happen last Saturday.
It was. I mean, I think that our offensive line played better. They played better because Kent State's front wasn't as good as what we've seen in the first 2 weeks. Texas A&M is going to be a little different than that. But we got some continuity. I thought that Bo Nix, we'll probably get to that later, but I thought he played better in some areas. And I thought he's just keep growing every week and getting a little better. It's good to see some other people play. Good to see Joey Gatewood get out there and show what he can do.
Absolutely.
And I still think that we're going to see him more and more as the season goes along. I'm anxious to get the running back, DJ, back. And then we had some offensive linemen that played that hadn't get to play the first two games. Thought Bailey Sharp did an outstanding job coming in for his first college start. I know he was excited because being a fifth-year senior. And I thought he played extremely well. And dadgummit found out he's going to be lost for 6 weeks. It sounded like a meniscus tear.
Yeah.
And but maybe we can get him back, towards the end. But maybe by them guys getting to play, they get that little experience. And I thought they looked physical when they played.
Yeah, not to sugarcoat it. I mean, Kent State's not going to be not a huge test of the defense up front. But you had Whitlow go over 100, you had Shivers go over 100, and then you had Gatewood rush for 100 more. And I think Cam Martin had almost 80 yards. So just a good night rushing.
Good night. Here again, Kent State, they had the same game plan. They wanted to kind of put people up there, but I thought we threw the ball early and got the things going. We run a lot of counters and a lot of traps that we we didn't see last year.
Let's talk about that. I was doing some research today. I didn't realize that last year we ran 10 counters all year. We've run 50 the first 3 games of the year.
Well, that's what we got to do. I mean, football, it don't matter if you're talking Pee Wee football, if you're talking JV football or varsity, it's all about angles. And when you can get angles and a kick out, you got a chance to have a football play. And I thought Auburn did a good job of that. And I think you're going to see more off of that and some counter stuff off of that. And that I'm very excited because now we're kind of going back to what we saw in 2010 and 2013. Even though we don't have the same type quarterback, Bo showed that if you're going to leave me uncovered, I can get the yards. And I thought he had 2 crucial runs, and then they had to go back to playing base defense and not overloading one side and slanting to the backside. And then I think that opened things up for Booby and the other running backs to take advantage of.
Yeah. What if anything bothered you? You feel like it's got to be cleaned up on the offensive side?
On the offensive thing, Bo was, I think, 12 for 17, but he had 2 touchdowns drop. We can't have that. We're not good enough to overcome that.
A couple of glaring. Whitlow had a pass he dropped. He overthrew a receiver. Those kind of things will bite you in a big way.
So I thought his percentage-wise he was good. I thought he made good decisions, which he's basically made all year long. I like to see the check down just a little bit better. But besides that, I thought it was a good, clean game on offense. And when you get that many yards, like I said, the opponent has a lot to do with that, but just to execute and get in a rhythm, maybe that'll help us go as far as the weeks to come.
Yeah. You know, you said something a couple of weeks ago. I asked you still believe it. You still don't believe we've seen a lot of Auburn's offense yet.
I don't. And you know, they're not going to throw the whole kitchen sink and everything in the Texas A&M game. I think you'll see it as the season grows, but I think we're seeing probably more than we usually have seen, and I think this weekend we'll see even more than what we have in the past this early in the season.
Yep. We're going to talk about the keys to Texas A&M in just a minute, but obviously one of the keys is establishing the running game against A&M. That's going to be predicated on being able to throw the ball. Seth Williams, who was out last week with an injury, looks like, from everything I'm hearing, that he's going to play Saturday. It's that he's been cleared to play. It's more of a pain tolerance than anything right now. So that's good news.
It is, and we're going to need Seth. I mean, he is our big, tall receiver. I'm just anxious to see when we can get all four of them out there healthy at one time, when we can have Schwartz on one side and Seth on the other side, with Hastings and Stove in the slots. I mean, we got four guys that I don't think they compare to the four guys Alabama's got, because they're all first round picks.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good four. It's a good four, and I think they can make some things happen and create things where if you do double coverage one of them, and it's most likely going to be Seth Williams if he's healthy, then the other three guys have got the ability to get open.
Yeah. Anthony Schwartz, talking about him, he's been out there with that cast stone, caught his first pass of the year last week. Been practicing all week. They say the cast is off. He's got on something like it looks like some kind of just hand guard he's wearing. But good news is they say he has not missed a pass in practice for the last week.
That's great news to hear.
Yeah.
And with his speed and athleticism, he's a game changer. And the other two guys are more possession type. You know, guys that the linebackers or nickelbacks are going to have to defend. And I think that will open the passing game up. But, you know, it don't take a mental giant to figure out what's going to happen. Texas A&M, even though we're not talking about them right now, and we'll get them later, but I know what their game plan is going to be, and we just got to execute and take care of that.
Yep. Before we go to break, I want to thank our sponsors, Extreme Power Sports. Jason Dyer and his group just do an awesome job over there. They're big Auburn people. When you're in the market for an ATV, outdoor water sport type vessel, give them a shout. Go see them. Do business with Auburn people. When we come back, we're going to pick back up, talk about a few more injuries, preview Texas A&M, and see what Auburn needs to do to come out with a win on Saturday. We'll be back in just a minute.
She's ready. Extreme Power Sports' very own Polaris Razor Skylifter XP 1000, Trinity Exhaust, Power Commander, 6-inch portals, Razor 3 to 5-inch lift, MSA 20-inch wheels wrapped with 35-inch BKTs, deluxe audio roof, LED light bar, Mud Park ready. We are ready to finance you on this Skylifter right now. Come check out all our off-road machines today at Extreme Power Sports.
And welcome back into Track 'em Tigers. Coach, before we move on, I want to touch on a couple of more injuries. I mean, this time of year, I guess that's when they start piling up. Prince Tiga going to be back this week, thank goodness. They say he's 100%. Read an interesting article this week. Coaches are saying that they want him to toughen up, that he needs to get his pain tolerance up a little bit if he's going to be a top pick in the NFL draft. I thought that was interesting.
Well, it was, but, you know, Prince, you know, when he came, he only played 1 year of high school football.
Right.
And then we basically gave him a scholarship as a defensive player. Mm-hmm. So he's not really learned to play. He hadn't played that long enough. And I'm sure he's just having to learn to play through these nicks and stuff you're going to have.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if he wants to go to that pro game, he's going to have to deal with this.
He's going to have to deal with it.
That's going to happen every play.
Yeah, so he's going to be out there Saturday. They're pushing him. You talked about DJ Williams. I want to ask you about that. We've been hearing all this talk about DJ Williams, the freshman running back. He's had a hip flexor through fall camp into the first few games of the year. Now they say he's 100% ready to go. True freshman. Your offensive coordinator, do you put him out on the field out there Saturday?
Well, sometimes you're going to have to. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to have to throw him to the wolves and see. You don't want to You want to try to work him into some situations, but if he's the kind of athlete that they say they saw in the spring, they say he had one of the better springs of any running back that we had. And see, the other backs like Cam does a good job, Sean Shivers does a good job, but they're small scat backs. DJ's more like Booby. He's a big back. I think he goes like 215.
Yeah.
So he's got not only the speed, but he's got the power. That can be that 1-2 complement that we need. We still use the other guys. Don't get me wrong. Well, they still have a place in offense, but now we talk about Booby having to carry it 28 times a game. Hey, maybe cut it down to 18.
Yeah.
And then.
So you wouldn't hesitate putting him out there.
No.
You wouldn't worry about the fumbling and the.
Well, you're going to worry about that, but you hope that you've gone through practice enough and you've seen, because he got hit in the spring.
Yeah.
That obviously he probably hadn't got hit that hard in the fall. It might be a slow process where you gradually put him in, but eventually he's got to grow up.
Yeah.
So the only way to grow up is to let him play.
Yeah.
And let him see. And if he puts the ball on the ground, then you probably be hesitant. That's one thing that. Auburn, they don't tolerate that a whole lot. And sometimes, Booby, when he fumbled 3 times in the Tulane game. And usually in the past, if you'd have had somebody else ready, you wouldn't have gone out there to get the second fumble, but you wouldn't have been on the
you
field.
wouldn't have been on the field, yeah.
And, but turnover is going to happen. The biggest thing for him, if he gets to play this week, is not only running the football, because he's a natural tailback. Okay. Now, Booby's he wasn't a natural tailback. He played quarterback in high school.
Yeah.
He was an athlete that we signed, basically an athlete / wide receiver. Booby he's had the last couple of years. He's just learning how to play running back. Now he's doing a very good job, a very good job. But DJ, he's a natural tailback. So I'm anxious to see him. I think in order for us to have a chance to win the schedule that we got, he's going to have to play. So
going to step up, put him out there.
Let him play.
Yep. One of the stranger injuries Saturday was Derek Brown. He came off the field, walked off the field, didn't seem to have anything wrong with him physically. Didn't look like it. Later found out he's got a deep chest bruise, and he's expected to play Saturday. So
he needs to play. And knowing Derek, from what I've heard from the coaching staff, I don't think that's going to keep him out of the ball game. I went back and watched the replay, and I saw nothing where he got hurt, 'cause I couldn't ever see anything.
Yeah.
I know one time he drove his man completely out of the picture, and that was kind of highlighted. And it looked like possibly that the offensive lineman's helmet could have got up in his chest a little bit. That's the only thing I could see. So
yeah, I thought he was maybe sick or something, had the flu or something like that.
That's exactly what I thought. But,
yeah.
He is pivotal.
Yeah.
You talking about game changers on defense? He's a game changer.
Yep.
And he's going what we got to have to be able to compete this week.
Yeah. Good news is it looks like everybody's on the mend. So I guess at this point in the season, 4 games in, it's about as good as be expected. Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about Auburn's running game against the A&M defense. It's going to be their toughest test they face. They've got a better line than Oregon. They've got a better line than obviously Tulane. They only allowed 3.7 yards a carry against Clemson. Running inside is going to be a job.
It's going to be tough. We're going to have to run some counters, and we're going to have to run some outside zone type stuff, and not just run the inside zone. And I think we'll come up with a good game plan. Gus always seems to have a pretty good game plan against Texas A&M. I thought Texas A&M against Clemson says that they was not going to beat them running the football, because Texas A&M lost a couple of defensive linemen that were big-time defensive linemen, and I thought that Clemson went in the game thinking that they could run. Well, I think they put an emphasis on Clemson not running. Well, with Clemson putting that emphasis on not running is about like doing the same thing against Alabama. They got their too many weapons on the outside.
Yeah.
For them to pack the box. That's why we have to develop the passing game, because Texas A&M, they're going to come out and I'm going to say, look, the way Auburn wins football games is running the football. We're going to stop the run and force them to pass and try to put the pressure on Bo. Offensive line is going to definitely be the key this week.
Yeah, insiders at practice this week said that they're doing a little bit of misdirection type plays, putting in a few more of those. Do you expect to see a little bit of that Gus wizardry going around on Saturday to try to, lighten the load a little bit on that offensive line?
I kind of laugh when I hear all the announcers and they talk about eye candy and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it is, but it's all for a purpose. Motion might be to, just to change the trajectory of the defensive man's eyes, but when you're doing that, you're always setting up something. People up top seeing how the defense is reacting to certain motions, and then that comes off of that. But we'll have to do that. We can't sit down there. I don't think that we can sit there in a base formation and say, all right, Texas A&M, here we come. I don't think we can do that.
Yeah.
But I think if with the misdirection and get the situation where we can get the speed sweep and then get basically the quarterback read off of that and off the power play, that's going to be very crucial.
They love to blitz. They'll blitz on two or three downs every possession. How do you counter that with a freshman quarterback back there?
You got to be smart to know where your check down is. You got to notice. You're almost to the point where you got to notice the blitz and know the blitz before snap count. That's what I thought Oregon did a good job of, confusing him where it looked like the blitz was coming from one place, but it actually came from the other place. Bo's seen that now. Hopefully he's recognized that, and then he'll be able to not be able to disguise it where he can't make it the reads on the run.
Give me a progress report on Bo right now. Where do you see him heading into his fourth game on a grade from A to F? What would you give him today?
Well, I mean, I thought the Oregon game, basically he did what we asked him to do, come up with a couple of big throws. I thought he was clutch down the stretch. I didn't think I saw that improvement in Tulane game. I did see that improvement in the Kent State game. I thought his percentage-wise was up. He took what the defense gave us. If you add the 2 drop passes that were basically for touchdowns, he was going to be like 14 for 17. And that would have been over 200-something plus yards. So, I would have gave him probably an A- to a B+ last week. So overall, I give him a B.
Yeah.
And I think that's good this time of year. The one thing about, from what I've heard, is that he's a football aholic.
Yeah.
And that, somebody asked him, what's your hobbies? I watch film. I mean, he's football consumed, and being the son of a coach and Patrick, and growing up in that household, that's what you know.
Yeah.
That's what you do. So, sometimes I think you do have to lighten up, get away from the game just a little bit. But I don't think right now that he's at the point where he's going to do that. He's got his nose to the ground.
Yeah. You know what I love? I love watching Coach Malzahn coach him up on the sidelines. Malzahn's been around the Auburn program for 10 years. I've never seen him coach like that on the sidelines before, like he's done with this quarterback.
Well, I think sometimes you're a reflection of your coach. And I think Coach Malzahn understands that. And I think you're going to see more emotion out of him because of that situation. Some people might say, well, he's fighting for his job. I don't think that's not on his mind right now.
Yeah.
His mind is that, hey, I got to get this back right like I know I can do. The strange thing is it came off a touchdown play. And I went back and I watched the film. I says, what is he so upset about?
Could you find it? Because I rewound it too.
I couldn't find it. It was something.
Yeah.
Because he was not a happy camper.
Yeah.
Gus sort of looked like Saban on the sideline when he's getting on McCarron that time. I was getting ready for him to pat him on the tail.
Yeah.
But Bo, he can take that criticism. Some kids, you can't do that to because they'll clam up. And they'll go into a shell. If you got thick skin and you've been around, because I tell you what, Patrick coached him that way. And from talking to Patrick, they used to have some battles on play calling and thinking that and so forth. But the coaches don't win.
And the daddy.
And the daddy. But so I mean, he knows that he can coach Bo that way because Patrick coached him that way. Right. So that'd be one of them things that you're going to see that it's that tough love.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can do it. Some quarterbacks you can't.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Interesting analysis. That's good stuff. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to look at the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to dig in a little deeper to A&M. You are watching Track 'em Tigers.
She's ready! Extreme Power Sports' very own Polaris RZR Skylifter XP 1000, Trinity Exhaust, Power Commander, 6-inch portals, RZR 3 to 5-inch lift, MSA 20-inch wheels wrapped with 35-inch BKTs, deluxe audio roof, LED light bar, Mud Park ready. We are ready to finance you on this Skylifter right now. Come check out all our off-road machines today at Extreme Power Sports.
Welcome back into Track 'em Tigers. Let's talk about that Auburn defense and the great mystery that is the first possession of every game. What is up with this Auburn defense in letting teams drive down the field on them during these first possession or two?
I don't know. I was sitting there watching the Oregon game, and they took it a 10-play drive right down the field.
Yeah.
I watched Tulane, and they came out and did this and that, and it's something I read yesterday. And they was talking about Auburn giving up always the first drive. It's like they have the first 8 to 10 plays scripted, and they know it basically with screenplays. I thought that, Kent State early, God, I've never seen somebody shift so much from one formation to another formation, back to another formation. And I think it kind of confused us and got out of place. I think after that, Kevin Steele just said, hey, stay where you're at, let them do all the shifting in the world, and just play football. So after the initial drive, the last 2 ball games, we give up a field goal. After that, it's like the report I read, it says then the offense had to go back to their regular offense and shut them out.
Yeah.
So you go back to game planning, that mental edge. I was really worried about being Kent State. Sometime I didn't think the offense was going to have a problem against Kent State because I thought they had something to prove to go out. I thought defensively I was kind of worried just a little bit because of the fact, hey, they know that they can't block us. And so we had a couple of communication breakdown, but after that I thought we went back and played Kevin Steele defensive style of ball and played really good. The only thing that, I jinxed us, we got a pass interference call. Yeah. And I said that last week, so I saw that, and I said, well, I'm never going to say that again. And so we get the pass interference.
But it's way better than last year.
And, oh, yeah. And another thing, the fourth quarter, the targeting that Smoke Monday got.
That was marginal at best.
I thought that was very marginal. And it's one that I wish that the SEC office would go back on Mondays and look at these plays, and then after you have time to digest it, then assess the penalty if you're going to have to miss the first half.
I think that's a great idea.
And because sometimes in the heat of the moment you see something, he did kind of lead, but he hit him with his shoulder. What's the definition of the rule?
You're a football coach. If you're going to lead with your shoulder, how are you going to lead with your shoulder and not lead with your head?
Yeah, it's got to be. It's a tough call. To me, what this thing's all about is taking out shots that you used to see when receivers coming across the middle and they're taking their heads off and all that kind of stuff. To me, that's what targeting is.
Right.
But
the defenseless.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I'm all for this because the game needs to get safer. Concussions is on the rise a lot more. Because we're more alert for that. Imagine how many concussions you think Terry Beasley got.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
And he certainly paid the price for it.
He did. So I can understand that. But defensively, we're gonna have to. This is gonna be our biggest test of the year. Cullen Mond. What you gonna get?
Yeah. You gonna get last year's Kellen Mond or this year's?
And so you just don't know. He hasn't run the football nearly this year like he did last year. Now, is that by design by Jimbo? Probably, because you'll probably see him run the ball more against Auburn. But from another standpoint, sometimes you can see the Heisman Trophy Kellen Mond, and then sometimes you can say, wow, why is he playing quarterback for us? So I hope Saturday that he's not on that high level of play that he's capable of playing, and more down to the point where he's playing average. And I think that's going to be a long way to how this game
How
dictates.
important are those first couple of possessions for both sides of the ball in a big game like this?
Well, you always say when you're playing a big ball game, and this is a big ball game, anytime it's the first conference game for Auburn, it's on the road. That's the reason they're a 4-point underdog, basically because they're the visitors. You need to establish early. They always say the first 5 minutes of both halves usually set the tone. And there's a lot of truth to that. I think sometimes the last 5 minutes of the first half and the first 5 minutes of the second half set the tone more for me. But it's always good to get off to a good start.
Yeah. So, what's the game plan if you're Auburn?
I think Auburn, you got to be yourself. I think defensively, we're not going to change a lot. We're going to be a 4-man front disguise. Coach Steele does a good job of disguising things. We're going to have to play the play-action pass. They're going to try to run it. Hopefully they can't run it against us. I thought last year at times that Texas A&M, if they would have continued to run the football, Auburn would have never had a chance to come back and win.
Yeah.
I thought they might have got a little cute and trying to throw some things, and then that's when Kellen Mond became average. And remember, he threw the pick to Igbo, or number 4, whatever.
Yeah, we're just going to call him number 4. I can't pronounce it.
I can't pronounce his name either. And then that set the drive up to get our momentum going. So it's, we're going to have to do that, and we're just going to play Auburn football. Offensively, we're going to have to be ready for the football early.
Yeah.
Early downs, we're going to have to throw the stuff and to try to get them where they can't pack the box. And I'm just looking for, this is kind of a game that is coach speak, but you're going to have, excuse me, you're going to have to play sound in the kicking game. And you got to win 2 out of 3, either offense, defense, special teams. Make sure you win 2 of them.
And the kicking game's still something we don't know a lot about.
It's not. I mean, I thought the punting game was a little better.
Yeah.
Kickoffs was good because it went out of the end zone every time. And that's the best kickoff.
Yeah.
If you can kick it out of bounds, make them start 35. I mean, that's, the old saying is, this kickoff, why do you want to kick it to their best player and you have to tackle him in space, which is the hardest tackle to make in football.
Right.
And so, as long as he can continue to do that, and then, like I said, I think it's the punter. I think we really need to him go back to that Aussie style of kicking and get more height instead of distance.
Distance, yeah.
And I think that'll help as far as coverage goes.
Yeah. This is a weird series. I mean, besides the LSU series, this is probably Auburn's. Just crazy things happened until last year. It's the first time the home team had won since realignment. Auburn going out there, a lot of good memories out there.
2013 when Johnny Manziel, and that was a nail biter.
Right.
And
that final drive when
we got the sack at the end.
At the end, yep.
And then so it's been some great games. For some reason, the visitors have not been affected.
Yeah.
I hope that stays it. I know last year we won at home for the first time, so I hope we didn't reverse a trend. But it's good to get into conference play. It's good to play a team like Texas A&M. We're going to find out what you're made of and what Auburn's football is all about. And it's not do or die. It's a situation where you go out there and play the best you can, and then you still got games behind it. But if you win, it's big. Whichever team wins this ball game is going to take a step towards challenging them for the West.
Yeah, it's not do or die, but like you said, it's huge. Looking at the schedules, one could argue that probably Auburn and A&M have the two toughest schedules in the SEC. I'd throw South Carolina in there as well. But talking about what follows, you've got Mississippi State, Florida, and then you've got LSU right a few weeks after those. It's big. I mean. Not to put too much emphasis on it, but like you said, if you get out of College Station late Saturday afternoon with a win, you're setting yourself up nicely for that middle part of the year.
Well, you are, and like I said, these next 3 games, and I haven't even looked past it. I don't know who we even got, but I know Texas A&M. Then we come back home against Mississippi State. Then we're back on the road to Florida. These next 3 games will not determine our total success, but it's going to determine how high that we can get. And to possibly have a chance to set ourselves up to have a great end of the year.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I am too.
It's going to be a good one. Auburn versus Texas A&M, Saturday, 3:30 p.m. on CBS. We'll see you next week.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.